Hello everyone, welcome to Ida's Tailoring. In today's video, we are going to explore the bridge between the pinning and the possible sewing, and as well how we think we need something, but maybe we need something else. So let's go! So we have here our model, which is our producer, and she's trying on her jeans. She understands that her jeans are big at the waist part, so we are just gonna pin. So we said, oh, let's go and do a video about it. So I started pinning. As you can see, I use always a T-pin because it's so strong. And then I asked her, how do you feel? She said, oh yes, it feels good. So I know that waist is okay. And then I keep pinning the rest, the hip area. That way I make sure that the pants will really fit her very well. But you see, I stand up like besides there, and while I'm pinning at the back of her, I'm looking at the mirror, her front part, So even if she looks okay, I see that the front doesn't look that great. So what I'm gonna do with any customer I have, of course, is to let her know that there is something there. Not just do the job, of course. So now she's looking at it, and she kind of doesn't like it as well. So we have to do something else. We cannot just take in the waist as we thought. As I have altered for her some pants before, I think I pretty much know what she needs. She needs to lower the waist. She's a person with a very short torso. So I think what I really need to do is just lower that waist. Probably I still need to take in the waist, but she said that she doesn't need it. So we're gonna just lower the waist and take in a little bit of the seat. So now I have my pants, and what I'm gonna do is just to mark them. I can see that the waistband is a little tricky the way they sew it, but that really doesn't matter. And as you can see, I have to mark the pants separate, not pin at the front, just because otherwise you couldn't remove them, right? So after I mark my pants, I'm gonna start putting my pins. So the distance, what I mark with the pins, is how much less she needed. So I'm gonna take that measurement and I'm gonna mark it under the waistband. That way I will know exactly where my new waistband will fall. But now that I'm marking, I can see that if I follow the pins exactly as I did, the pants will look terrible because we have a pocket that is really high. I don't understand why they did it so high. And we have as well a very short yoke at the back as well, like at the side back. So we are limited there. So we are going to do the best we can, but it won't be perfect. At that point, I will stop the job, call the customer, but my producer knows that I will do the best for her. I'm gonna open everything, I'm gonna remove the label, and I'm gonna remove the belt loop. Oops, not the top part. I don't need to remove the top part, just the bottom part, so I can completely open the waistband and separate it from the pants. So you know how I do it. I go very slow with my blade, and then I kind of pop it out. Now I'm gonna open the waistband, and opening that waistband is so easy because it's just a chain stitch. I remember those times where it was just the regular stitch and it was so hard to do it, but now it's very easy. And the good part of that is that I can keep all that thread. When you have the chain stitch, it's like a triple the thread, or at least a double, so I can use that thread again to make the top stitch back, so my job will look way better. I remove the waistband. It's a little tricky, but we will see. So the first thing we see is that we don't have zipper, we have button instead. So we will need to remove the first button in order to do our job. And on top of the pocket, I know that I cannot go as low as I pin, and as well because of the yoke. This yoke as well is kind of very short. I don't know. It looks like this band has been lower, but no, they haven't. Maybe they did. Maybe the pattern, at the factory, they decided, oh, no, don't do it so high-waisted. And they cut it off at the top. Oh, I'm just talking. So I'm marking everything, and I'm using an old pliers to open those buttons, and they are so old that it makes my job difficult. But anyways, I don't find it easy anyways. So if you have an easy way to remove the buttons, please let me know in the comments. I would appreciate it. So I removed the button. Yes. And I'm always scared to break the fabric. When you are marking your new waistband, you have to make sure that the horizontal line will come perpendicular to the center front. That's very important. Otherwise, your pants will look like a V, and this is not really nice. And then from there, you make your curve. See? I see that I will need to remove as well the rivet, but we will deal with that later. So I'm marking, and I'm gonna make sure to mark in one side and the other side exactly in the same ways, just to make sure that my pants will be completely symmetrical. That's very important. And we have to see how from the front will go as well to the back in a constant line that looks good. And measuring the back as well, and the back won't be that low as the front because she has something at the back. All the time make your lines soft. You don't want anything too sharp, just going from like just in a gentle way. And again, you need it symmetrical, one side and the other side to be the same. So I have my line mark, and obviously now that this is a little lower, now the waistband is probably a little bit too small for my new line. But usually in my experience, when I do that with jeans, I either make a dart or just ease the material inside, and it is most of the time okay. We are talking about just half an inch, so I think I'll be okay, but we will see after. In the meantime, I'm gonna remove the rivet, and again, all skirt all the time. Please let me know if you have a better way to do it. The first rivet is gone, and now the second one as well has to go. I was lucky this time. That was easier than I anticipated, so I'm very happy. So for my next step, I'm gonna try to just use like a navy blue. I couldn't find it because they are all the wrong place, but I found it because I want to make like a little patch. You don't need to do too much, but just to close a little bit that hole, just to make sure that that hole won't get any bigger. I lose the thread, just because I was gossiping. That's why I cannot do anything wrong. I have my karma instantly. Okay, so just a little bit back and forth for the stitches, and I'm trying to not make too much because my waistband will be sewn there and I don't want to make that too thick. And now I'm gonna do my stay stitch before putting back my waistband. Now I see that I found in the waist some labels, and to be honest, when I remove the labels, I put some of them and some I don't. I mostly put the label with the care instruction because these are extremely important. Of course, everybody wash their jeans, but if you are, talking about other kind of garments, then it will be like a good idea to sew back the care instructions. I'm pinning my seat. It's just one pin, but I have to do everything from that pin. So when you are gonna take the seat, you have to kind of follow the original lines, And this is what I'm doing now. You see, I follow the line from the crotch and the line from the seat, and I kind of made a new U, or half an U, let's say. And this is what I want to follow. You know, seeing this in retrospective, I think I should have just go with the line until the very top, because anyways, I knew that the waist was a little bit big and I just could have gone with the one line. But I got kind of confused because she told me that the waist was okay, but it was okay, right? So I could have done it that way. I think I didn't did it the right way because I tried to connect low, so I kind of changed the way it is. But now that I'm sewing this, I think this is the right way, but wasn't the best way, and I'm gonna show you later why. Okay, spoiler alert. So I mark and sew, and remember we have done a video about the flat fail, and you don't connect the flat fail when you do the first stitch because the flat fail is done in one way and we are sewing in another way. We are going to connect the flat fail when we do the top stitch. And remember that we have to pin it when we open that center line, because if we don't do it, the flat fail can just open, and put it back is not really an easy task. So now I'm checking that this curve is a little bit too curvy. So I'm gonna soften up, and I know what you are gonna say. Oh, but it's just 1/8 of the inch that you are softening. And I know it seems like a little bit exaggerated on my part, but that makes a lot of difference. So when I see it now, I can see more like it's all good. And of course, it has a seam allowance that is just too big, and we have to cut it out to the right side and proper side for sewing back the flat fail. When I do the flat fail back, instead of just iron it, I like to do a stitch to hold it well, because when I do the top stitch will be way easier. And usually when it's like a more straight seam, I leave more seam allowance, but I'm not leaving too much seam allowance because this is a curve, and you know, seam allowance and curve are not really good friends. Now I'm ready to make my top stitch, and I'm gonna just iron a little bit. You don't need to iron that thread, but I think when you iron it, it kind of goes more smooth. So I iron it and I put it in a thread, but I see that I have one thread that is almost identical. So if I miss the thread, I know exactly what I'm gonna use. So I'm top stitching my flat fail, and a trick that I do is just to try to go exactly where it's supposed to be. I know that some of you have told me, oh, I never open that flat fail because it doesn't look the same, and I do understand that concern, but after you wash it, you won't see that much. I can see that there is like a point there. You see, I didn't connect it in the right, because I should have gone to the top as I said before, but because it's my producer, I just iron it, because you know, with the iron it goes. But the thing is that I don't like to make things and fix it with the iron. I like to make it well and then make it better with the iron. You see what I mean? So, you know, I'm gonna try on her, and because I think that anyways, after she wore the pants for a while, we will need to take in the waist. So I'm gonna just fix everything at that moment. It will pass probably 1 or 2 months, you know, while she's wearing, and then the pants loosen up. You know, that always happens with the jeans. So now I'm getting ready to sew back the waistband, and I'm gonna take that little thread just in case. So it's all good now. This is why I didn't want it to take in the waist. You see, that's the tricky part when you are doing that job. So I'm gonna cut now the excess of the fabric, and I'm pinning it just to make sure that I'm cutting it symmetrical. And now that is all cut, I'm gonna place my waistband and I'm gonna sew all around. I left a lot of seam allowance, but unfortunately, because of the buttonhole and the button, I cannot leave too much seam allowance exactly at the front. So I cut all the excess of seam allowance and I'm gonna pin it. They sew it in a weird way, and I'm gonna try to do my best in here. And you know, the best way to sew a waistband is to divide it by two. You go from one side to the center and then you go from the other side to the center, and that way you make sure that your waistband look really great. I'm trying to go very slow sewing this waistband, and because I'm sewing it in just one step, I wanted to show you how I put my hands. I make my hands like a clip, you know, that holds my seam allowance. That way it doesn't roll up inside, and then I can stitch the top part and the bottom part. The thread is finished, so I'm gonna take the second thread I took and I'm gonna keep sewing it. I think I can do until the end, and I'm not doing it right because I wanted to do it in one thread. Look, I almost did it, but no, and that broke the needle. And that's disappointed because I didn't did it in the right way, going from the center front to the center back. So I think I'm gonna open a little bit the part that is not good, and I'm gonna sew it back again so it looks nicer. I have as well to sew the leather label that goes at the back, and I think it's so big. Oh, look at that. Oh my God. I took the wrong one. Some customers bring their pants just for me to remove those labels, and some customers like them, so I always have a few of them. But still, I feel like even the original one is a little bit too wide, so I called my producer to ask her if she wants me to cut it or if it's okay just to put it. What should I do? So as I told you before, I'm fixing this part of the waistband that I was a little pulled, and I'm putting my label again. And the trick with the label is to go almost by hand because you want to sew it punching in the same original hole. That way it looks authentic. So remember that I removed the rivet from the pocket, so I'm gonna do some tacking there and I'm gonna sew back the belt loops. Again, we have the problem that the belt loop won't really fall in the flat felt of the yoke, so I'm just reinforcing a little bit the fabric where I'm gonna sew the belt loop, so just to make it more secure. And that's my pants. As you can see, they look really good. Still, you know, look like a decent pants, very nice at the front and at the back. I know that it has a little trick there, but it's all good. Just one button less and it's all nice. The waistband is well nice on, and the flat felt is just right there. And I know that probably 3-4 months I will have to take in the waist after, you know, the jeans releases at the waist, and it will be all good. And look at her, how she looks. She took those pants for a trip to Europe and she was looking and feeling great. If you find this video useful or entertaining, please give us a like and don't forget to subscribe, share, comment. Bye!